What's up, everybody? I'm Jason, this is Freebird Garage, and today we are on the most beautiful day to be riding into work. Man, this beats the last Friday I rode in, which was a torrential downpour, sliding all across the freeway, getting my way into work. It feels beautiful right now. Doing something I haven't really done much on the channel before, and that is, of course, the 5 things I actually hate about this FXR, or more so a know before you buy, before you get into an FXR. All right, the first one, and the notorious one, which is a sad one, is the horsepower on these bikes. It is terrible. It's just, it's not there. It's just more on the top end. The low end, it seems to do just fine. It's got plenty of torque. Obviously, people wheelie these things. There's no sense of that being short. It's just more so that it just doesn't have that immediate fast horsepower that you see in the new age bikes, or just in general, you know, anything outside of the Evo motor from stock. This is a stocked motor, other than I have rejetted it, and I do have plans. I'm gonna do another mod to my CV carb. I still have a huge belief in the CV carb, on it being a lot better than it is. I know there's companies out there that polish port, do all these crazy tricks, new idle screws, everything adjustable and easy to get to. And I really want to do that to mine. I think it'd be really awesome to have that. And I haven't upgraded anything on my motor because, knock on wood, it has done all right so far. So that's why I haven't touched it. I do plan on doing cams and all that down the road. Just when the timing is right for it is when I'm going to do it. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, reliable. This one is notorious for FXRs and just older Harleys in general, but particularly FXRs always get a lot of heat for this one. They're not very reliable. You can make them reliable. So for those trying to snap, say, yeah, I got mine perfectly fine. Well, I'm driving mine right now to work, so I trust it enough that it's not gonna break down and return from work. But that's not the case. If you get a FXR that someone told you they have meticulously taken care of and they have gone through it and everything, there are just problems that you're going to see with this bike, the charging system in particular, that seems to fail pretty good on these Evos. I'm pretty sure like Softails, the FLHs of the day, all had that. It just doesn't seem to be very strong. Now I know that kind of goes across the board. They have made improvements with like the Dynas and everything else as the years went on, but reliability is definitely number 2. I can go into other parts and maybe do a video on separately just why the FXRs aren't reliable until you make them reliable. All right, number 3, which kind of bounces off of number 2, hard to find parts. Yes, it seems like every aftermarket speaks to the gospel of FXRs, but actually they don't. Of course, you can always get handlebars, risers, you know, everywhere. You get your mirrors everywhere, but those parts in particular, like gas tanks that you find on these mid and forward controls, either or are not easy to find, but that is definitely number 3, is hard to find. All right, the 4th reason, which is the top end of the 5 speeds. It's the same that Sportsters have the battle with, and Dynas in the earlier years, is that you don't have enough top end, and that is a real damper when you're trying to do a long distance ride, or if you're trying to go, you know, just on the highway in general. When you're cruising at 70 miles an hour, you are at a nice 4,000 RPMs, or roughly right around there. You should be 38 to 3,900 RPMs. Which, hey, at 70, that's okay. Problem is, you don't travel just at 70. You're traveling at 75 to 85 miles an hour, trying to get ahead of traffic or do what you need to do to stay safe or whatever you want outside of traffic and get yourself boogieing. Now, that doesn't really happen too easily for these bikes. You need to really reef on it after 70, and it gently glides its way to its destination, or 85. You know, if you're going down a downhill slope, hey, maybe you'll hit a good 100 miles an hour, but safely spoken, you would probably at 85 to 95, but you have to wait to get there. You can't just beautifully shift to 6th gear and just cruise your way up like everyone else does in the later years. Now, I know Dyna switched to an overdrive gear was that 06, I think? I'm probably wrong on that, but generally around that time. That is definitely a strong problem, in my opinion. If you're going for long distance and you think about long distance and you want this bike, you can definitely do it, but it's definitely not going to be as fun as if you were on another bike that has the overdrive. The other fix to get that done, of course, is switching to something like a Baker, which has the best of both worlds. It gives you that short 5-speed, and then it gives you a lovely 6-speed, but giving it short enough though where you still feel like it doesn't just dog right out when you hit 6. As well as I've been told. I don't have one, but that is a great upgrade to go from. But that is the reason why the transmission is number 4 on the list we have today. Number 5 on the list, the last one, and that is because of the front end of the FXR. The FXR's weak point in its whole line is the front end. Now, it may look very cool, and it does. I really enjoy the aesthetics of it, but the downside of having it in a narrow glide, which is why it's not popularized in the newer bikes, is because that is made for a Sportster, of course, but the body is that increased, the weight's increased, the tank's increased, everything's increased, so you're putting way more weight distribution on the front. So what that does is that when you are in low cornering, you're going to have a big dive problem. So when I go into a parking lot or if I'm coming out of there, it wants to dive down, and you kind of got to pick it up a little bit. If you're not careful enough, you obviously can tip it over if you have no idea what that feeling feels like. But if you're a Harley owner and you rode a long time, you definitely know what a low dive or diving front end feels like. Most Harleys already have that dive, but this especially is pronounced on this one because it has a Sportster front end and of the body that is connected to it. Now the rest of the body, there's no depth wobble and all that stuff. That's why I love this bike, and that's why everyone else loves this bike. But the front end has that woes, and throughout the years it's moved up from a 35 millimeter then to a 39, and of course never saw the light of day of the 49 millimeter front end to be able to get the improvements. If it had like a cartridge front end like the FXDXs did in their last length of time, which was their last improvement, this would be a banger. I mean, this bike would just kill it on the front end. But unfortunately, it's definitely less than desirable, and a lot of people, of course, thankfully the aftermarket, have upgraded that front end for that exact reason of that. Now, a caveat, some of you that are watching that have FXRs may even have this on your system, which is in the premium rides of the FXRs, they decided to put a anti-dive system on the front end because they knew how bad it was. That is why that is number 5 on the list, or in general on the list. I hope this helps out anyone that is considering an FXR. This isn't to scare you away, of course. This is just to be aware that when everyone talks about this being one of the best Harleys ever made, this is a factor to consider, or the 5 factors, of course, to consider, to know before you buy. Obviously, I love mine. I ride it all the time. It is my daily ride whenever I ride my bike. I do not want to switch away from it because there's something that also drives you towards it and inside of it when you're on it. So that about wraps up for me on this one, guys. I would greatly appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button, tap that like, press that notification, leave a comment below, and tell me what you think. And for those that have already subscribed, thank you. As always, stay free, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.